being late to the topic is really in theme with talking about Camelot Unchained in general. And if you've not followed this game, it's an MMO. It was one of the MMOs that raised funds on Kickstarter at a time when pretty much everybody that wanted to make an MMO that had some kind of name around them or just an idea that sounded promising were going to Kickstarter as this new area where people didn't know as of yet that it was unrealistic to fund an MMORPG, a game with the scale of an MMO and the pitfalls that come with making something like that. Camelot Unchained were there. They had Mark Jacobs, this name that was responsible for, or at least in part responsible for, Dark Age of Camelot, later on, the Warhammer MMO. And people were like, oh, trustworthy guy, we've played his games, he's the man, right? And he's saying he's going to make a spiritual successor to Dark Age of Camelot. It's going to be called Camelot Unchained, and this is a man we can give our money to, and reasonably, in a couple of years, we'll be playing a new iteration of what we loved, right? What ended up happening instead was people gave him money and he decided to go make a game engine to then build out this like green version of this old school MMO. And I'm not saying that that's like a ridiculous notion because I'm not a game developer, but what I am saying is that I believe this building an engine was outside the scope of what people probably thought was going to be the case. Maybe it was even mentioned in the Kickstarter pitch, but I don't think even if it was, people really had the idea that something like this could take as long as it has done and then deliver on what we currently have. So over the years, there's been a bunch of drama with this game. There's been a bunch of drama with Mark Jacobs, and the community has come to an all-time low sentiment, and that was before the game released. And then they started doing like a push for marketing in the last year or so, where it was quite clear they were gearing up to launch the game. And then the game launched on Steam, right? And it's hard to even really consider this a game launch, because realistically, it's not that much different to the closed non-disclosure agreement test that they were running for like a decade. You can play the game, you can show the game, you can talk about the game, but you can only do it on weekends, right? This game just inexplicably, despite being a game sold on Steam for like $12 or $13 US or whatever, you can only play on weekends. And the reason that they gave for this was laughable, right? In a way, but also laughable if it wasn't this way, because they were essentially saying, oh, we want the game to only be playable on weekends so that we can have like the majority of the player base log in and have like a group of people guaranteed to be on the weekend that, we're all in this shorter period of time, so the testing will be better. So when you then look at the player numbers that's of the most recent weekend and how it's even dwindled from release, this is pathetic, frankly. And obviously it does go to show, I guess they did make the right decision, because if this was playable week round, but within a couple of weeks this game would have probably been down to like 10 people online on an average weeknight or whatever. The fact that they've gone from 500 or something on release day to 89 on the same, their peaks have been on Fridays usually for the past few weeks, and it's losing like 20, 30, 40% player base every time. And it's down to like a fifth of the player base from when it originally launched. I'm going to keep air quotes in a lot of terms in this video because you just kind of have to. And there's a lot of like, who cares involved in this, because everybody knows Camelot Unchained was probably going to be a mess. But I was going into this with the best will possible that perhaps in the space of time that they've sort of not really talked about or shown the game a ton from years and years ago, like the assumption that from people that didn't have access to the game and wasn't under the non-disclosure agreement was that best will in the world, they just had like the test server people were playing on, and that was like missing a bunch of updates. And then once they did the early access launch, they were just going to push out this like big wave of stuff that they'd been working on and didn't show anyone for years, and the game could be ready, right? At least more ready than what it has been. And that was delusional cope. It was just trying to give them the goodwill, because obviously the game is launched and Lazy Peon wasted his time going and playing this thing, and I'm not going to do that. I know I said I'd play it, but then when I saw what it was and the reception that it's had, it's a waste of time. You can be like, oh, how can you review something, which I'm not doing. I'm not reviewing the game. I'm reviewing, I guess, the situation around the game. How can you review a game if you're not going to play it? But you don't need to play this game to have like the only reasonable opinions that you're going to come to having.
What happened to sound?
There is absolutely an audience for that. Can you review that you're going to come to having seen it, right? I'm not against the idea of like old school MMOs existing or coming out now, because there is absolutely an audience for that. But one of the things you have to look at whenever you're developing or making or putting anything into the public for consumption, could be a YouTube video, a book, a movie, a TV show, a game, whatever it's going to be, you are competing with everything that came before you in every medium that people could spend time on. As well as everything that comes after you and that is currently being played or watched or consumed or whatever it's going to be. And when you have something like Camelot Unchained in its current state, you can just look at this thing and be like, who is this for? Who's it competing against? Who's going to play this? And when you're talking about an MMO, what you've got to pay attention to is that any MMO that comes out right now, tomorrow, next week, whatever it's going to be, is going to have less content than any other MMO that released years ago, decades ago, the ones that are still being played, just by virtue of how time works, right? If you've made something, you're not going to have as much stuff in it as World of Warcraft that released fucking 20 odd years ago, right? Or the original Dark Age of Camelot, whatever it's going to be. You're also not going to have that nostalgia factor. So what you have to have is something new, something exciting, something that builds upon what was previously available or does something differently enough that gives people a reason to play. So when your proposition, your value add is, we're just going to be Dark Age of Camelot, but slightly updated, but we're 13 years after the funding was raised and we're decades after the original game was made, but we're less polished, have less players, have probably worse monetization when we eventually get to it, have a bunch of like a sword of Damocles hanging over your head of like, do they have enough money to continue this? Are they ever going to get to the stage where the game's even comparable to the original version that's decades old? When you look at all these things, there is simply zero reason to give this game a chance, to give this game the opportunity. And when you have like a situation like that, the game cannot exist, right? Because if it's not currently worth money and worth supporting 13 years after people gave it money to be developed in the first place, and we know that they're running out of money, it's not a charity. You're not just going to go and give them stuff and hope that it gets to the point eventually after all of this time, which is when they did have the opportunity to do so. So it's kind of like, it's a doomed proposition. And I guess one thing I will touch upon before we start looking at like the reception on social media, because there's some hilariously delusional takes on this game from the fans, I guess. When you look at like how they've released, I would use this as somebody who's like very hyper focused on like timelines and when a game, the stuff that they say and the stuff that happens. This game releasing now in this state is the clearest indicator to me that you could ever make without physically saying it to me, that they have very little money and that this is very likely to be the Hail Mary, that this game was going to come out, make some money, and or maybe convince an investor, we were wrong, actually, there is absolutely a reason to give you more money, and to basically fund this to the point where maybe they could get it somewhere else.
I thought this was a video about someone's game release.
If you've been watching Tesla Time News here on Now you know that lithium is going to be an important element for years to come, and being able to mine it.
Hi everyone, it's me, Tim.
Hi, Tim.
Today I want to talk about code standards.
All right.
Just when I think I'm winding the channel down, one of you goes and asks a really good question and I'm pulled right back in. In this case, it was commenter Bonin Tomatin Sauce. Really? Says, I'd love a video about your thoughts on standardization while building a large software project with a team of people. What should and should not be standardized? That's a good question. I asked him exactly what he meant on it, and then I decided to do the video. The reason I asked is there are lots and lots and lots of code standards out there. In fact, I think I've had a different code standard under every programming lead I've worked for, and I've changed my code standards myself over time. There's always a lot of arguing. There's one of them here that I've never been on a team where there hasn't been arguments, like really loud, emotional, vocal arguments. And I've never figured out the correct way to do it. I will describe both sides of the argument to you when we get there. What I've landed on here is something that worked. So people may have a ton of different code standards out there, and you may think yours is great, but if you're the only one using it, you really have a trial by fire when you have a team of 5, 10, 20 programmers, and you're trying to hold them to a standard. So this is what worked for me. And if you don't like it, let me just tell you this. At least have a standard, have a coding standard, because having one is better than none at all, even if it's not a very good one. So let's start. I've broken this up into rough categories of things. Let's start with the API, the interface into code. I prefer to have a function and method naming scheme. What this usually means is, it's whether or not you capitalize each word in the method or function, and whether you use underscores. Just pick one and go with it. What I prefer is a name for a method that pretty much tells you what the method is going to do. I dislike having lots of functions or methods with the same name. And I'm not even necessarily talking inheritance here, where you're planning to use inheritance. I'm talking giving things the same name but with different parameters and telling me that the programmer using it will figure it out. Here's a perfect example. I worked with someone who had made their own list manager, and they had 2 delete methods in it. The reason they were named the exact same thing, delete. One took a pointer to a node, one took a pointer to the list. And he said people will figure it out. People will know which one to use because they were typed. It was called like node pointer and list pointer. But they're both called delete. And I said, I think you just call them delete list and delete node. He goes, no, they're already differentiated enough. Sure enough, a third programmer using his list library called delete, but he accidentally passed in a list pointer and not list pointer to a node. So he meant to delete a node, and he deleted the entire list. And there was no error thrown because it was perfectly valid. Would have solved that if he had just called it delete node and delete list, because then the guy would have called delete node and passed in a list pointer and would have said, nope, can't do that. So have a good function naming convention, and don't rely on different numbers of parameters to differentiate your methods. The other thing I really like in my API is something called header idempotency. I think I'm pronouncing that right. Idempotency in computer science means that the header can be included multiple times, and it doesn't matter what order you include your headers in. The way I implement this is all my header name is XYZ. Then I have something at the top that says, if not defined, XYZ header var, then define XYZ header var 1, and then at the end you have a close on that #if. What that means is if you include this header more than once, only the first one will get included, and then because that variable is defined, none of the rest will ever get included. But it also means that you can include things in whatever order you want, and you don't have to have an order dependency, because if something depends on something, a header depends on another header, you can include that header inside that header and not worry about, oh shoot, has this header already been included by the person including this particular header, or do they have to remember they have to include it first? No, get rid of all that. Just make your headers idempotent. Similarly to APIs, I have a very similar feeling about variable names, so beyond function names. You should have some kind of guideline for that, like what style, capitalizations and underscores, how long they are. I despise really long variable names. I had someone I worked with who said, I like to self-document, and his variable names were like counter for linked list holding all objects in scene. Oh my God, you'd have like for I equals 0, I less than counter for holding count of all objects in scene. It was a nightmare. By the way, I don't mind using single variables like I or J if you're just doing a loop, especially if it's a small loop. If it's bigger, you might want to have call it something like object list index or something. But I really hate long ones.
Nathir, how's it going?
Similarly,
Sarah, what's up?
Global variables, I prefer that they're stored somewhere. You can store them in one object. Sometimes you can make a singleton object just called global variable container, and it has all the globals in it. You want that for several reasons. One, it makes them very easy to save, but also access can be better controlled that way because you have to go through this object, and you may decide at some point, I don't want globals directly accessed. Like if you've used C#, you can have globals that use a get and set, and you may decide at some point to do that. It's trivial if you kept them in an object, because then you can suddenly make them all private and have access functions for them, and suddenly all the code that is directly using them will throw an error, and you can go and fix all that. Similarly, shared libraries are something I like, but some people don't like them. Like there was a big discussion of whether to use standard template libraries a few years ago on a game I was working on. A lot of people liked them. They felt like it was a waste of time to have to remake lists and vectors and arrays. Other people didn't like them because they couldn't see how it was implemented, and they weren't sure if it was going to
How are you doing, Nathir?
implemented efficiently, or because they couldn't see the implementation, they didn't know what the edge cases were of inefficient use of them. Like, is sorting this list expensive if it's almost always sorted or not? I don't know, because I can't see how it's implemented. So in general, we do use shared libraries, but we usually like the code to be available for us to look at. It's me to input standards. This is sort of on code. It's sort of a gaming thing, but input standards are things like WASD. And like WASD has been around forever. If you have a keyboard and you allow motion, you usually do WASD for the motion. If you don't do that, you're kind of begging, why are you taking something that people have learned for 30 years and throwing it out the window? You better have a very good answer to that question, or I'm going to tell you to go and change it. Similarly, I like to do things like whatever key you use to open interface, if you hit that key again, it will close it. So if I is for inventory, hitting I will open the inventory, hitting I will close the inventory. In fact, the reason this is a code thing is I kind of like to make that part of the code. So the hitting I creates at the keyboard layer, just creates the event for that. And then the interface, all of our interfaces listen for the event associated with them and open and close on the same event. Kind of related to that, I like escape. And a lot of this is keyboard related. You can have similar standards for a controller. I like that escape will always back you out. So if you're in an interface that was like inventory, I will close it, but escape will also close it. If you hit escape again, it should pause the game and possibly bring up a menu. If you hit escape, it'll make that menu go away and you'll be back at the game. So escape always takes you towards the game, and if you're in game, I like to make it pause and bring up a menu. So that's some of my input standards. Documentation. People hate this. I've seen so many different ways documentation is used. I've worked with someone who goes, my code is self-documenting, and I'm like, not to me, it's not. I still like at least one comment in a code before method that just says this is what this method does. If it's long, if the method is more than, say, a page, if I have to be hitting page down, I expect to see some comments, especially in sections that aren't crystal clear. Like if you're doing some fancy vector unfolding, or you're doing something with a quaternion and don't think everybody on the team knows quaternion math backward and forward, throw a comment in there. Similarly, I don't rely just on, when you check code in and out of your source, if I don't rely just on that comment. I like to put a comment in the code itself saying, like, let's say you have something that sorted a list, and you might put a comment in going, I changed this to changed from quick sort to bubble sort on this date, and I have my initials. So I put TDC on my comments. A lot of people go, well, that should be a check-in comment. It was also the check-in comment, but depending on how you archive, check-in comments may be lost. If people archive code by simply taking an image off the disk and writing it out somewhere to the cloud or onto a DVD for archival purposes, you will lose the check-in images unless you also archive the check-in system and all of its data. And you're assuming that the executable for that check-in will still work, or you're including the source code for it and the compiler will still compile it, or a lot of other things. And I'm just saying, you really want to get down as basic as you can. But here's all the source code in text files, because you never know, is this archive going to be opened a year from now, 5 years from now, 25 years from now? Just cover yourself. And then the last one I want to talk about is error handling. This is where standards can divide a team in half, especially programmer teams. Let me walk down what I'm talking about error handling here. In general, error handling, I can see you often do an assert. An assert is some conditional, and asserts are only run in the debug version of the game, not the release. If you throw an assert in, it basically says this conditional has to be true. Like at the beginning of a function, it gets past a pointer. The first line of that function may be assert that pointer isn't null. Nobody should be calling this function with a null pointer. Like you should never be asking to delete a list that doesn't exist. You can delete an empty list, but then the list pointer isn't null. It's just the first node is null. No, and the count on the list is 0. So you assert something that should be true. In debug, it treats that assert as fail, and the game will stop running. Similarly with exception handling, a lot of people like to catch an exception and then fix it so you can keep running. I say yes, fix it if you are 100% sure the game can continue with your fix. I've seen people catch an exception and try to fix it by going, oh shoot, this list is null, I'll make a list, and then keep going. That's not fixing anything, and the game is almost certainly going to fail because somebody passed something that should have been created when it wasn't. Which gets me into warnings versus errors. A warning is something that you test for, possibly print a message going, this list was empty, but then you keep running. Versus an error where you test that conditional, possibly print something like this list was empty, and you stop the executable, you stop the game running. This has been what I call the eternal controversy. People have been arguing this as long as I've been in the business, and I'm sure they're going to continue arguing this in the future. And let me tell you both sides. I will try to give both sides as passionately as I can. The warning side is this. If you run into an error, well, guess what? We got 70 people working on this project, and they expect a new build every day because maybe they put something in they want to test, or they want to see if it's working in the overnight build, or maybe there was someone downstream, like I checked in something that was blocking this person, and that's what they're going to work on today, and they need this code. So you want to throw a warning so the game can keep going. So the person
doing the high score.
All the people out there that need the game for other reasons other than maybe this code can keep working. Because let's say what happens was you were loading a map and a tree didn't load. Probably 99% of the team can keep playing if Pretty Tree 03 model didn't load. But make sure that's the case before you use a warning. Because let's argue the other side, the error side. Let's say there's a dungeon that you're not supposed to be able to get into unless you have the key for it. And let's say it's not an instance, but there's a locked door and you have to have a key. If you have the key, the door will open. If you don't have the key, it won't, and you can't get in the dungeon. Let's say that door doesn't load. So now the dungeon is wide open. You may cause a lot of problems if suddenly a dungeon, which is supposed to be locked, until they get a key, and that key indicates that they're at a certain point along the main story, or that they have certainly encountered this NPC, whether they killed him for the key or bought the key or talked to him for the key. They've certainly encountered that NPC. There were certain things that are assumed when you step foot in that dungeon have already happened in the game. If you don't make that an error and you let them go into that dungeon, it is very likely that something bad will happen in there. Like, it will assume you must be on this quest because you cannot have possibly had that key unless you're on a quest. So then something in a script in the dungeon may go, oh, what's the status of that quest? If it's this, do this one thing. If it's this, do the other. And the status of the quest is unknown. The person doesn't have a quest. And maybe the person didn't check for that because there was no way you were supposed to be in here without having that quest. This is an example of you should have thrown a warning that door wasn't there. I mean, you should have thrown an error. By throwing a warning, a message pops up. The person's like, I don't know what that is. And they keep going. And then they run into an error later. They write up an error. The person, the error has to be written up in QA and has to be distributed from production. Finally, somebody gets it. They look at it and go, this can't happen. There's no way you can get in this dungeon without being on this quest. I do not understand. So an error can happen laid downstream from a warning. And the thing that generated the warning is what's causing this error. But the error should never have happened. So a lot of people argue that you should always throw an error because otherwise throwing warnings sometimes just push the problem downstream, which wastes a lot of time and a lot of additional team focus, especially people who have nothing to do with the original warning. But until that warning is fixed, some things downstream won't work. Yes, it is very difficult to sometimes determine whether it's safe to throw a warning or not, which is why the error people say always throw an error, get stuff fixed. Of course, going back to the warning people, they're like, really? You have a team of 150 people and Pretty Trio 3 didn't load and you're stopping everyone's work today. So this argument has gone back and forth. Again, pick one, double down on it, and do that. Anyway, those are all the code standards I think I followed. Bone-in tomato sauce. I hope you like my answers.
Yep, just doing my best ventriloquist I can do. Ooh, I'm loud. Loud noises. There we go. How's it going, Vex? I saw your new game come up on the Discord. After I'm done with the jam, I'll definitely play it. It's all right. Oh, there's our problem. Quick, simple game, nothing special. There we go. So accept is not working. Let's take a look at that. Cursor position +1. Ah, I see. So increment the cursor position. And we're going to reset the character index. Or do we? I don't think we do. Do we? Squooby, squooby, squoob. So if we're going up by 1, we're going to take player name and add our current character name index. And we're going to set our current cursor position to that. And then we're going to update the player name. And if we're going backwards left, then we're going to set the cursor position to -1. But we want to wrap to 0. But regardless of all that, player name, we're not touching that. That stays the same. Okay, let's see what happens. So left. I can't do it. Left. What happened? Why am I down there? Oh, we died twice. Game over twice. Game over. So we're gonna do K R I K. We can go back. But we can't go right. Oh, 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 and we break things. Okay. And that's because we put this in accept, because we're an idiot. All this should go right. Accept should do the same as right. Asriel Abyss, Prince of Sorrow. Go like that. Try it again. Game over. Okay. R I over here. Oh, 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 oh. We're adding when we go right. So what we want to do and see, we're doing so right, we don't want to add, and therefore we're not. No, we only want to add when we're larger than the player name size. So if our cursor position is greater than player name, score player name size. Is it size or length? Because it's a, I don't even know. If, watch this stupid documentary about Pizza Hut versus Domino's. and now I want to make a pizza game. Come on, Cricket. Score position. That's an integer. What are you complaining about? Length? Oh. Could always be a little bit bigger. I mean, if we're honest. Right. That's... Okay, so... String... Okay, it's length. So if we're going right and or how about this? How about left and right you can't grow the size. You can only grow it when you press accept. So then it's as simple as this, but we want to wrap or we want to say +1 modulus score name length. How's that? And then this would be minus -1. I had to get my car inspected the other day. It failed because the reverse gear didn't work. Thought it would be fine since that's just a backup. Very nice. Very, very nice. That's the perfect grown dad. Ugh. Dad. Womp 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 womp. Womp 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 womp. So let's continue on. We're still going. Rodrigo, how's it going? I missed your little wave. Sorry about that. Leaning way back in the chair. Good. So I've been fucking around with an agentic AI, and I'm starting to get the hang of it. But my opinion right now, and I know it's always like, oh, this is the AI, always the AI thing is, oh, you just need the better one or whatever. Right. But damn, is it a waste of time if you know what you're doing. It just feels like I've spent most of my time talking to the fucking thing instead of doing the thing I wanted it to do. The whole thing about it really is that you want... It's so weird. Like, I'm trying to make this thing that just checks the weather. It's a skill, right? And so you have to describe the skill for the language model to, with its tools and skills, execute what you're describing the skill does. And what I'm running into is sometimes it works. And sometimes it's like, because the LLM just reads what your instructions are, and every time it comes up with a different answer, it's like, you know what? I'm going to do it this way. And it's like, no, that's not what I said. Like I have this PHP script or Python script, and it takes 2 parameters, latitude and longitude. And I'm like, pass the requested locations, latitude and longitude to these parameters correspondingly. Sometimes it's totally fine. And other times it's like, I'm just going to put in the sample. I'm going to get the latitude and longitude, but I'm just going to put in the sample variable names that you gave me. And it's like, what the fuck am I supposed to do? The variable name is requested location, latitude, requested location, longitude. How more fucking clear do I have to be? Anyways. And then it's output from it. So it gets this giant JSON, and then it condenses it and spits it out to the user. And every time it's like, you know what? This time, because it's weather, this time, fucking the most detailed 7-day forecast you've ever seen. Other times, it's like, you know what? 78 degrees. You asked what the temperature was? I gave it to you. And it's like, no, I asked what the weather was. Nope, 78. It's like, God bless it. So then I have to go, okay, like, here's how you describe it, you know, and by default, if they don't specify the specifics, then this is what you're going to give back. And it's just like fucking wild. Like, this is like so, such a loose and inconsistent system, where it's like, sometimes I need that consistency. I want you to be an LLM at this point, but like, as an LLM, if you see this, then you know, and it's just like, it doesn't work that way. Anyways, it's fucking, I feel like I've just been wasting my time with it. All right, so, but I'm getting the hang of it. I'm understanding it better. And I'm starting to, my opinion on it, AI for code generation at this point is that I would only trust it to create glue code and not much else. Do you know what I mean? Does that make sense? So like, if I'm going to glue two things together and I don't want to write that glue myself, then maybe I could use something like that. But at this point, it's feeling like I'm just spinning my wheels, just trying to futz around with it. I don't know, guys. I have this like terrifying vision of the future where we have no privacy. We like get hooked into the matrix. We know we're in the matrix and nobody wants to leave it. And we're like plugging ourselves in right now. And I'm just watching it happen in so many different ways. As far as like, well, what do we need speech for, you know? And like, what do we need privacy for? And what do we need? And it's just like, Jesus, man, what do you like? There will be no place in the world you can go that you will not be monitored or seen, that your spoken word will not be heard. What's next? What's next? At some point, every thought you have could be registered. All for the guise of fucking safety. It's always safety. The argument is always safety. Well, if it makes us a little bit safer. Jesus. I don't know. Rant's over. Rant's over. But you can kind of see this wave coming. Everyone's so excited about this AI stuff. And all I see is the boot coming down. And I just don't like it. Again, if this thing's so disruptive and it's going to take all these jobs away by grepping all of human history and knowledge and thought, right? And everything you create, it gets access to your IP as a result of that, right? Like, if it's taking and you're giving it money, and then everything you produce with it could be then created by anyone else with the same tool, by giving them money, then they get a bunch of money and we get no revenue streams out of it. And it's like, what does this mean? Like, what is this going to look like? I don't know. It's hard to call it. Hard to call it. All right, let's try this again. See how much I messed everything up. Game over. Okay, right. So we need to be -1. Is length -1. Gum over. Should every time you create a new character, should it say end? What do you guys think about okay, it's coming together though. I don't know. I'm torn on some of the AI stuff. I mean, it's like, it's interesting, but the other thing too is like, just, it's just so much work to, and I guess you figure it out. It's like, if I'm going to spend all this time describing something, I might as well do it myself. I used AI to build a Python website. Pretty much did all the code. It worked well for that task. Saved me a ton of time. Yeah, see, like I can see. It's just like whenever you're trying to do anything remotely, I don't know. It's like, you know, I'm just like getting used to the eagerness it has to just like rewrite everything every time I ask it to change one minor thing. It's like, oh, okay, I'm gonna, and it's like, whoa, 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 whoa. Or I'll go in and change the code a little bit and be like, okay, it should be like this. And then I ask it to change something else, and it's like, oh, I don't like what you did there, and it takes it out, and it's like, what the fuck, man? Like, I put that there. So like as a partner to work with, it's just like, and I'm sure they're all different, and there's something that like I've got to learn or whatever. I don't know, but it's just like, Jesus, man, like you're kind of an asshole. And then sometimes like it's just like, no, not gonna do it. And it's like, okay, dude, I know you can do this. Just do it. And it's, no, you wanna? Not gonna. It's like, all right, dude. No. Okay. I'm not gonna. But yeah, like I said, glue code, a lot of stuff. Like if it's like I don't want to do this, and I don't care about the result. It was funny to find out like, oh, I can search skills, and there's like 1,000 weather ones, and it's like I really don't want to go through everyone else's. And that's the funny thing, because everyone's just gonna pop out their own version of it. So like, what's anything anymore? That's the part that I just like. Okay, if every time I look and find something, it costs money, and I can think, oh, I can just have AI program this. It's like, okay. So what does that mean? I can't afford to use any of the large stuff. But I'm like, I'm figuring it out, and I was watching the end of the match. It got good. Oh, nice. Well, yeah, it does a lot of dumb stuff too. A lot of the site was slow, but again, I just told it what the problem was, and it wouldn't fix it. I wouldn't put the site online, not without really looking at the code, but for an internal tool, it's done great. Yeah, and that's the other thing is I was thinking about that too, where I don't even know Python, but I know programming. And so when I was looking at the code it was producing, I'm like, oh, because it kept bombing out. It's like opening up a file. And I'm like, no. I was like, you need to check if the file exists, otherwise you're going to crash. And it's like, okay, I fixed it. And it didn't. And I'm like, you didn't fix it. You just kind of moved things around a little bit. And I'm like, you've got to have it check if the file exists before you try and open it. And finally it does it. And then I was kept asking, these need to be command line arguments. And it's like, okay, I did it. And it's like fucking lying to me. And I'm like, okay, then I have to search for the actual module name in Python that has the thing I need. Then tell it to use that. And it's like, oh, got it. I use it all the time. Like right now, I don't speak English well, so I use it to help me translate. Yeah, for language learning, AI is like revolutionary because it's a language model. So of course it's going to get language right, you know? And as a way of like conversing back and forth between the model and like another language to practice in is also really interesting and helpful. So, but I have a trained model right now, my closed captioning, Rodrigo. If you turn on closed captioning, you'll see captions for my stream. And so I put that there for people who want to mute. Maybe they don't like the sound of my voice. Maybe they're impaired in some way. Or maybe they're just like at a diner with some friends and they want to they want to watch me, but they don't want to have their earbuds in and look rude or whatever. So they just who knows? I don't know. And like I know I could have busted something out here, but I also know that I have my way of doing inputs. And I also know that it would have been like, well, I'm going to do it this way. And then I would have been like, no. And like, I've learned some stuff. So it's hard for me to really think about it as like a complete replacement for anything because it's also hard to know if you're leveraging your time right with it. Like, did this thing, like for a large scaling project in particular, I can see how I can get out of control really quick. It's true. I always mute the sound of your voice. It's way too serenading. It makes me feel like some type of way. I use it as an assistant to program my game. I'm not going to read the whole manual. So I ask all the time, what function should I use for X thing? Yeah. The site I built was mostly with Gemini and some Claude. Get some access from Google One subscription I have, which was Swordspage, but it seems like they've added some AI access to it too. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know for my own code. And as a project grows, if I just can't see like trying to get it to manage the whole thing. I just can't visualize the ridiculous management that I would be involved in would take away all the joy I have out of creating the thing in the first place. Wait, we can mute you? Programming manuals are usually trash. Yeah. I mean, it's impressive. Like I went to the the National Weather Service and they have an API and their docs are severely lacking, but they had a JSON that described it was the API in JSON form. And so I was able to give it, here's the JSON for the API and here's what I need from what it can do from this thing that you can look at. And it pretty much one-shotted it. And I'm using Gemma at the lowest possible points with 2 billion parameters. So lowest possible version of Gemma 4. And I'm using Hermes, which is like a Claude or a, something like that, OpenClaw or whatever. And so it one-shot it mostly after 2 days of figuring out how the hell I could even do these skill things and understanding all that shit. And then most of it's been dealing with language models just fucking around with the English language and not understanding my skill instructions. And just like confusing the $ in my goddamn, let's like run this command and it like keeps taking away the $. I'm like, don't take away the fucking $. It's supposed to be there. It's like, oh. But don't you want to be a manager of half-witted clankers that cost 50 times every time you ask them a question? Whenever people talk about AI, I just zone out as if they're naming favorite JavaScript library. So many silly names. Yeah. I mean, yeah, I definitely can't see using it for anything large, anything complicated, because again, you become the manager and you become a project manager for a bunch of morons, really smart morons that can type really fast and produce a ton of code that is consistently wrong, and that you constantly have to write full spec sheets out to get the result you want. With a human being, the output may take longer, but you know what you can do? You can say, hey, this is what I need, and they can kind of deduce the rest and know when they need to ask you a question to fill in the blanks. And they can fucking follow common sense. And so the question ultimately is that when we pay the piper for the true token costs, when people do, I'm not using anyone. I'm doing my own tokens. Like, it's all local. But when the pay the piper comes for the token costs, is it more than the cost of a human being to do the same thing? And the equation is time. If you look at an employee and the cost of hiring someone and the time it takes them to output the same thing at the same quality, which depending on your viewpoint is like already worth it. That's the math that's not being done right now. I don't think. And right now there's a lot of vibes and hypes on it. I don't think I use AI much for game dev. I enjoy that. But for this tool, it was something I needed. Yeah. And and web development, frankly, is like hell on earth. So if you could just vibe it away, like, why not? They should give them cooler names like co-intertwined weighted intelligence graphs. Then I'd want to read more about it. Yeah. No, it's infecting everything. Facebook is like, my wife shows me Facebook, and every local business uses generative AI for their marketing. None of the food trucks show their food. It's all fucking generated AI food. It's the wildest thing to see that going on. And it's like, really, guys? Like, you're not even going to show your food? So there's some stuff like that, like, that's pretty crazy. And so it's infecting a lot of things. And then, like, I hear it a lot with generative voice for like every fucking thing. Even when you're out in public. Wait till restaurants start serving AI generated food instead of real food. Well, that's the other thing. Like, my wife would get requests to make cakes, and they would show this AI generated image, and she'd be like, this is impossible. Like, this literally physically cannot be a cake. And the video shows somebody making it. And she's like, yeah, that's not real. I hate ARR. Yeah. Well, yeah, Rodrigo, I mean, YouTube Music has become impossible for me now. I was using it when I started streaming, and then generative stuff started infecting the music scene on YouTube. And now it's getting harder and harder to find real music. It's crazy. Okay. So we do kind of need a delete. If you guys were on the front-facing buttons on a controller, would you say that west or front-facing button left would be delete? Is that, or would it be front-facing button right? Which one to you would be delete? I can't wait until YouTube starts officially supporting AI videos and removes the upload date field. So you just can't. Oh, dude, they're doing that with shorts. YouTubers are people that make shorts. There's a button now that they're prototyping, sending out to people, select people, that's generate another short like this. And it takes and it puts the same person's face into another video that's like it, with their voice and everything. It's fucking wild. Maybe you're right. Okay. So they're just taking people's likenesses and then getting ad revenue, putting them in the middle of a video they weren't in, and stripping the revenue away from the individual. I mean, that's the thing that you can't square, is that this stuff is literally theft. Like, it really is. It really is. And it's like, okay, like, you know, I would say left. The affirmative action is right. Secondary one is left. But I don't use controllers. PlayStation. Accept, decline buttons. Cross. Now this is PlayStation accept, decline buttons in Japan are different than in the States. On 5, circle is decline or cancel. Circle is accept and X is decline in Japan. So we're going to use the left button. Just pick a random console UI and copy it. Oh, this is for your like classic arcade user input. So like right here, I'm putting in, I can turn on my controller so you guys can see what I'm pressing. Okay. Oops. T. And then there's end right here. And that would be like submit. I guess start could be end as well. But we'll make add action delete. And then we're going to add backspace to that. Backspace icon. I have like 50 actions in my key map file. I ran out of buttons a long time ago. Hey. Good. I'm going to go say hi to my wife. She just got back from work. All right. Miss Cricket's going to join tonight as well a little bit later. Vex, when you're saying to do the backspace icon, what are you imagining that would do? That it's actually something you choose and it goes, it's like another character, and that's what is like the delete? Let me see what's under Unicode. There's a delete symbol. It says DT. Let's see. What do we got under Unicode? It's also known as rub out. Oh my. Enter and maybe clear. Yeah. Unicode backspace symbol. Here we go. Erase to the left. All right. So that's a legit Unicode. So our font might not support it. Oh, what do you know? It has it. Okay, so we've got an erase to the left. Good. So we can use that. I like it. Classic. And then I guess we can just do standard typing. Oh, God. I'm not going to do that. Well, fuck. People are going to expect it. Stupid people. Stupid people. I gotta have some sort of countdown so that it auto submits in case somebody doesn't find the character. So return. Sausages are the worst. See, the problem is back, delete and return look the same. So, and if we do the carriage return, it's tough. It's hard not to agree that like some of the stuff is interesting and useful. But it's also like this new the real thing I think that's Vantimum. How you doing? The real wild thing I think with some of this stuff is just like that these guys, these AI guys basically are sounding and acting exactly like cigarette companies did when they were like knowing, you know, how bad it was. And they're like really taking on the villain aura. And your game looks pretty good. You look pretty good. Thanks, I appreciate it. So I'm looking for a Unicode character for submit or like finish. Done. There's a big checkbox. I have it end. If it ain't Jiminy Cricket. Well, that's a good sign. I'm glad you're saying it looks pretty good. I just don't feel that way about it myself. Not yet. So we'll try checkbox. Let's see what the checkbox looks like. We're going straight to game over because we're messing with the high score stuff right now. So just getting the character select submission stuff here. KRI. KI. T. And then, do we want numbers? And then checkbox. Does that look like a submit to you? That checkbox? This is a form of submit. The French submit. Sorry, France. Reputations are earned. That's all I'll say. Yeah, I mean, we've got one too. We've all got our reputations. The enter key or arrow or something. So the problem right now is, so Vanthamum had a good suggestion about a delete choice, which is like a real old school reference. And so that is currently this character, but the return character looks a lot like it. So the Unicode return, I can show you what that looks like. Let me put it in the old Araya Rooney. I gotta reload though. Okay. So that's to go back. Or that's to submit. That's the return character. This is the delete character. And I feel like they seem like the same thing. So right now it lets you put it in. Needs to be a different type of arrow. I know. Help me. Let's find some in the Unicode world. Let's just find list of Unicode characters. Yes, and you need numbers. How would I? This is true. Okay, we agree on that. I do feel like I'm getting good at making things look kind of nice, with as little art as I can create, which is 0. I think the thing that's really helping with some of that stuff is, and this is very little, I'm about to say, but having some background in video production, which makes you trained to see film and editing a certain way, and especially being interested in VFX. I think having an understanding of film VFX is like really useful for game dev, because you can start to think about things the way that, like in film, it'll be, we came up with this trick. Like episode 1 is always, it's all CGI and like most of it's models, right? So like the shortcuts the VFX mind uses to like get the result that you're looking for with less is like really good to think of or have that in your mind when you're doing like trying to save, whatever it is on your graphics, programming, and that kind of thing, and just spending like your budget, your budget in the game, not cost budget, but like graphical and memory and stuff. To be. That's not let me see that one. Let's see what it looks like. So that one you think could be submit? Let's see. Let's see if this some bitch thinks that's right. In this town, well, I don't take too kindly to your kind of Unicode character. So stupid. Yeah, that might work. Let me see this other one. That might be too much. So that's not return. What is that? Multilingual. Give a name. It's an Australian return. That's so stupid. I like that. It's fits the genre. It's a right return. So what does that mean? That it takes the right side of the text. If you have a line of text and you're running a word processor and you hit that, the right side, so your whole line goes down. We'll do the arrow. All right. Thank you for the assist, Jacob. Jacob, with the assist.
Oh, that's cool.
Els.
Cool?
Oh, I missed the stream.
Yeah, cool. You think it's cool? It's cool. It's not cool.
I keep losing my streak with you, Els. Thank you for the raid. I appreciate it. Let me do a shout out. I missed you and Pagorli working together. I'll be honest, dad life is really taking me out. Let me do a shout out to Els. Els, let me show you what's going on here. We're going to have a high score in the game. And so we're just testing it right now. We bring up the game over screen right away. And then we're getting the character input stuff going. So like classic arcade high score system here. And of course we're going to support the keyboard, I think, so that if people want to just type it in, they can. But this is with controller support, so we can go over here and change any of the characters. And then we're debating on doing a delete. So we have a delete choice to go back and delete a character. Or that's the submit button there. And then we'll probably have a countdown just to force the high score submission to happen. Bad Assembly, what's up? Or Roland? What am I saying? I don't know. So, and today him and Roland were on a boat. Oh, damn. For the stream? Is the VOD up? I feel like an idiot. I got, the kids are really beating me up, guys. Roland finally got that TV off his head. And Roland really reminds me of a character in a comic book called with the TV head thing. Reminds me of shoot, what's it called? Saga. Only solution is to have more kids, probably. She's trying to get Els to bring the TV on the boat, but he said no. Probably for the best. CRTs are a rare breed now. It's like bringing a toaster in the tub. Yeah. So I can show the game. It's not really a game still. Let me get rid of the immediate high score state. So there's a lot of work I still have to do, a lot of things to work on. But we have the ship going around. There's a dragonfly dragonfly ship that my wife made last night. We got a score system going on, so we're gonna have like a high score classic arcade leaderboard that'll be everybody playing the game can submit their score. We got our rails system working, so the camera automatically follows a set path, and then we can fly around in it. And then we have the in-game state right now, so we go to game over after the rail is complete, essentially. So right now we're looking at probably only one level. 5th of July. Dear God, man. And I'm going to be out on the 4th. I'm not going to make it. No, I'm not going to make it. We'll see. We'll see. This high score thing, I should have just not done it. I should have just not done this stupid high score thing, but I got it in my head and I'm like, this is it. This will be great. Because then there's a reason for people to play again, but it's a jam game. No one's going to play it again. I'm commandeering Roland's machine here to chat. Oh, it's you. Oh, man. So you're still on the boat right now? I'm on a boat.
Oh, that's cool.
Maven's again with the raid. Again, I appreciate that so much. Give me a shout out.
It's cool. It's not cool.
I'm going to go over to you. Hang on. All right, let's go check out your stream. So Maven's is working on a Java game. And we were chatting it up yesterday. No VODs, no VODs. Yeah. So we were kind of talking shop about it and everything. I was mentioning there was a YouTuber that I sent that is making a game in Java. It's really coming along. Yeah, we had a boat Starlink stream, but there's no wind or sun, so we couldn't keep the battery going forever. Oh no. Mariano, hope you're doing well. Dustin, how you doing? Yeah, so we're doing the high score stuff right now. I'm just about done with this. This is the list of things we need to do for the rest of this game. What we're trying to get to here, and I'm trying to get to it tonight. Last night was a stream with my wife and Minnie. Miss Cricket and Minnie Cricket were here. Minnie's a little distracting. She gets super excited about the streaming stuff, so but she loves it. Stream canceled due to weather. No, I need to go. A whole shout out. All right, because I love your space. Yeah, no problem. No problem. I don't find you online often now. Recent streams are late for me. Yeah, Mariano, it's Friday. The guaranteed ones are Tuesday and Friday, and then the weekends are iffy because I want to be with the kids. I missed the family stream. Yeah. My wife is going to be on later. She's going to be working on more modeling stuff. And so that'll be good. And then I'm also talking behind the scenes. I've been talking to, I guess I can show this. I hope it's okay to show. Oh, dang. I already got the files. Holy crap. I've been talking to, is it Log? and they started working on the building textures. So like I said, there's a famous there's a hacking scene in Hackers where they're flying by these buildings and they have file names and everything on them. And I was like suggesting it would be cool if it was the Windows 95 directories, and each column of a building was a folder in Windows 95, and the contents of the folder were the file names in the building. And then he went, they went and got Windows 3.1 folder directory. So that's what this is, which is kind of even better actually. So I'm going to try and get this model into the game, and I believe it's a missive and all kinds of cool stuff. So let me try and get this in. What if building windows are Win98 windows with calculators and solitaire? Oh man, assets. Okay, so I'm just gonna throw this in the root, and we'll see how bad it gets. One thing I wish Godot was better about is like, hey, and maybe it can do this. I just am an idiot, and it's probably true that it is true that I'm an idiot, but whether or not it can, I don't know. Could not open MTL file may not be readable, so I need the correct. Whatever that is. Let me check the building here. VFX, we're going to close that. Oh, right. We're going to put MySpace Tom into the game. I got to remember to do this. So MySpace Tom is going to pop up occasionally when you do something really cool. Like Mortal Kombat, you know, the toasty, but instead it's going to be MySpace. So that's I'm hopefully gonna get this in, and where he pops in and he slides in when something really cool happens, and he's gonna say MySpace, and then he's gonna go away. I saw the vision before you even said more. right. Oh, that's a ship my daughter made. This is a literal gunship. Look at that. Isn't that cool? It's a giant trigger. So she called it a gunship. And I'm trying to find the other thing. I don't know that I can get it in though. Let me do the zip file with the unleveled wings. Yeah. I told her to do asymmetry, but she took it to mean even for the I was talking about the greebles. I was like, dude, do those asymmetrically. But I think she even did it with like the wing stuff. Cyber building textures. So these are the textures. Oh God, I want this so bad. Okay, so if this is an OBJ, how do I get this to be something I can use? What is an OBJ? Object? Is that a Blender thing? What do we think, guys? What is that? Who are you? Trash. What about a train ship? Oh, good idea, says Minnie. Can't talk about your greebles on the stream. Damn dirty greebles. MySpace. Yeah, so I don't know when he's going to come in. MySpace. I feel like he needs his arm out like this too. Do you think he ever gets recognized? I bet he's really old now, right? Greeble Day Meeples. All right. Continuing on. So yeah, we have our system. If I turn off the fog, we can see this more easily. But this is our system for the actual rail. So here you can see that we just draw this path 3D is essentially what it is. And wherever this path goes, that's where our ship is going to go on whole, along what we're calling a rolling stock, which is a reference to, it's a train reference. Anything that goes on a rail, a train track, and moves is referred to as a rolling stock, or can be. So I learned that as I was trying to think of what do I call the movement of the camera and everything. So we're calling it a rolling stock for that reason. Did you say what you wish Godot was better at? I think I missed it. Oh, like if I have a bunch of assets and my game isn't actually using them, that it just wasn't included in the export. But I think that's more of a project management thing. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I can just go and check on export and there's probably something in here, right? There are two tools for that. I mean, I know that I know, for instance, I can go to project and I can say, and this is really cool. And that is, so there's Orphaned Resource Explorer. Yeah, in export, there's a resources tab. Instead of export all, you can select auto detect. Oh, okay. And then that is the second one, yes. And then there's also engine compilation configuration, which this is really cool. You can detect from your project. Now, this depends on your code because it might mess up. And I don't think this works very well with C#. I could be wrong about that too. But this will actually remove entire components of Godot in your export, and it'll shrink your export size down pretty well. It's not magic. You have to rebuild Godot from source with the file it generates. Oh, that's right. That is correct. I don't think I'll have time for that right now because I'm on a version of Linux that is not going to make that easy for me to do. I'm going to cancel this. I think I've made a huge mistake. Okay, so let's try that. Export resources. Export all resources. Export selected resources. Export selected scenes and dependencies. Export all resources in the project except the resources below. Export as a dedicated server. Is this a game jam thing? Yeah. So if I choose scene and I know that I have everything I need in there referenced. Is that enough? I don't know. Can we do, I mean, we could run the server, but I don't think it's the same as, we can start the server and we can run in browser, but I don't know if it used my export settings for this. Uh-oh. So this is bombing out. So this is a good way to test it because yeah, we're not working. But if I go back over here and I just don't do that on the export. See, I'm getting a little distracted. Let's get back on task here. We're going to go back to export all. Let me just confirm that this works. We're going to go run in browser. See, now it's taking an ass long. Okay. The other thing that sucks is because we're in compatibility mode, we have no shader compilation whatsoever. So you see all that stutter. I have to create a scene to compile the shaders in order to avoid that. I also don't have, right now the fog isn't on. Right, so anyway, so there's a lot of little things that I kind of need to take care of before the jam is complete. But we're getting there. Doesn't work. It doesn't work for compatibility mode. So it's in the docs, actually. It's in the Godot docs. Yeah. So the compatibility renderer uses OpenGL 3. These versions lack the functionality to effectively input Uber shaders and pipeline pre-compilation. To avoid stutters and compatibility, you need to use the legacy approach of preloading materials, shaders, and particles by displaying them for at least one frame in the view frostum when the level is loading. Which is presumptuous to say when the level is loading. I know we're making video games, but there's, of course, different approaches to what is a level or, you know. But anyways, I get the wording. So I got to do that. Otherwise, we're going to have that stutter happen. It only happens once you refresh. It's in the browser cache somewhere, and it works fine. And so it only happens the one time. But it's very disruptive. And so the trick that I did for the inner tube game, because at the last minute I discovered that and was like, oh, crap, was I literally, where the camera was looking behind a mesh, I just had everything that I knew that was like an effect just play. And so it was behind the mesh, but it was enough to pre-compile. And so the start of the game, it's all jittery, but it's not when you're playing. And so I probably end up doing the same thing, where at the menu screen, I just have a secret space where I'm just like, put something up and put everything behind it to do the stuff really quick and like hide that it's happening. It's like the dorkiest way possible to fix it. Yeah, just put it all inside a building. Well, crap. If I only have, I've got 4 days remain. This is turning into, what's the one with the moon? Majora's Mask. 3 days remain. We're like in Majora's Mask mode right now. Okay, so we have our up and downs and our lefts and our rights. So we have our in-game high score inputting. We're going to go ahead and bring that back up. Game over. Game over. Is that how many's left? Jesus, no. No, Jacob. Oh my God. My time is wrong. 3 days remaining. Dear God. Well, that means that all day tomorrow, tomorrow's the 3rd, that's it. That's all I got, boys. And then Sunday, all day until it's over. That's it. 2 days, 21 hours. Oh, shit. Okay. We've come so far in the end, it doesn't even matter. Oh, we've got vibration support for the controller, so here you can hear it. So that's working. That's pretty cool. That was easy to do. Godot makes that pretty straightforward. I mean, if you want to get fancy with it, of course, you gotta. If you want to get nuts, let's get nuts. So that's delete. Okay. So if the character is a certain value, then we're backspacing. Vibration works on the web? Yeah, it does. It might, I imagine it might depend on, you know, it might depend on like browser maybe. I don't know. Who knows? Who knows where thoughts come from? Okay, so we're going to accept and we're going to check the character index. So, because we need to check for this character. So if we're accepting, if score characters, surname character index equals, and this is a double equals, it's not an assignment. This little bastard. Then that's a submit. And so in this case, we're going to do a breakpoint just to make sure we can catch this correctly. And I guess we're going to say else, and then we'll do everything else, which would be most of the time. So, and again, the whole like, I can hear the voice of people. I'm not going to listen to it. Slater, Poop Fox, do a toilet roll. I really want to play the new Star Fox. I switched to is so out of scope in my life right now. That's not happening anytime soon. When does the Steam Summer Sale end, by the way? Unrelated. Okay, so let's make sure we can hit the breakpoint.
Fartality.
Fartality. All right. So we're hitting the break. That's a good sign. July 9th. This will be the first year we don't celebrate the 4th at home, and it kind of feels wrong. I'll be honest. Now, here's the deal. It is a very big year for the United States. You know, the significance of like round numbers when it comes to celebrating things is like a thing, right? And so 250 is a pretty good round number. Now, I could be like, well, if I fly a flag right now, people are going to think that I'm X, Y, or Z. And I'm something I'm not when it comes to like being like patriotic or something, right? But it's not theirs, it's mine. That's how I look at it. And so for me, like, I always put up I have a Betsy Ross flag, and I always put that up. I like to have both flags up because it's a really cool way of showing the malleable nature of the country. Fly the flag upside down. That'll show them. I'm in a red state, so I've got some neighbors across the way that fly the flag upside down whenever a Democrat's a president. Because, of course. But I would fly the flag. Like when I lived in California, I would fly the flag, and 2 times my flag was destroyed. Which wasn't a good feeling to like know that some neighbor was destroying my property. But I lived on like track housing and stuff. But it's not weird for me. Oh geez. That's the stuff that the neighbor across the street, they have like really weird flags that they put up, and I have to like research and figure out what the hell they're talking about. Like, you know, it's got like, it's weird. It's all like weird right-wing stuff, you know. But no, man, nothing against nobody like that. That's not how I roll. Put off a, oh, I see what you're saying. I thought you meant the other way. You need a comma in there. Or some sort of, what do you need in there for that sentence to not possibly be really badly taken? I thought you meant the other way, Slater. I was like, do I have to issue a banhammer? What's going on? Is a comma necessary? How do we make that sentence not... Oh, don't tread on me. Don't tread on me, Daddy. Oh, man. I should get a Scientology flag and just put that up just for no reason. A Sea Org flag. I'll just put up a Sea Org flag on my I didn't know our neighbor was a Scientologist. A flat earther flag. Just a bunch of flags that are in clear conflict with each other. Just to keep to keep people guessing. Yeah, a comment in that sentence would have been amazing. Yeah. Yeah, anyways, we'll get back to work. My personal philosophy is you know, just live and let live, man. Like, just relax. Everybody needs to fucking relax. Anywho, back at it. Back at it. But yeah, it does suck that there's this like association with it, and it's just like you gotta take it back. You gotta take it back. Okay, Iron Red. Man, I was like, I gotta know what this is all about. I tried reading. Her writing is so stilted and clearly a non-native speaker. Like it's really terse, and I don't know. It's not very good writing in terms of like prose, I guess you could say. I couldn't do it. What were we doing? Okay, so yeah. Return. So this is where we set the player name. This is where we submit. This is where we submit the and so I guess the other thing is, I guess we'll have a function, and this will be to submit high score. So we'll just call it submit score because we don't know if it's a high score or not. But at this moment, we submit the score. Gotta go have fun burning flags or whatever you do on the 4th. Thanks, Mariano. It does sound like where we live, it sounds like we're like under attack. Because we're in an area that it's not dangerous to have fireworks. Like nothing's going to go up in flames. Although fireworks can make anything go up in flames if you have enough of it, right? And the right spark lands on a roof and the whole house is going to burn down. So, but it's just like you go outside and everything is lit all around you because there's constantly fireworks going off in the neighborhood and stuff. So it's really, I feel bad for my dog. My poor shepherd. He doesn't like it. I'm locked in on 4th of July for my dog. Go on lockdown. So we'll trigger this here. We'll trigger submit score. And then also we need to, when we get, someone presses a carriage return. And so is that an accept? Now, if you were typing out your username and you hit enter, I would expect that to be submit, right? So I'm going to call this submit. And then we'll just do enter. And you can replace that char for an OK emoji. Think so? We just had a big discussion about this when you weren't here. Is there like a submit emoji? There's a checkbox emoji. I feel like checkbox is better than okay. We could have like the send mail. What's the send mail? Send. Silly if you don't think I'm going to send it. We could do send. I don't know, guys. What is a high score? What is a Unicode character for high score? Enter or return. The return symbol. The enter symbol. Save. Save is more cyberpunky, cyberspacey. I think the save icon is a winner. A winner is you. Excuse me. This sneeze has been brought to you by Ryu. Which in Japanese, what would that be? Ryu? Ooh, I don't know. Ryu? He's lost it. Cricket's lost it. Ryu? Oh no! I need the back button. We don't have the back. We don't have the delete yet. And then there would be save. Okay. And if we did save... Uh-oh. Something broke. Ryu. He's lost it. Ryu. Have you guys watched the super long legal video from Data East when they were in the legal battle with with Capcom over Street Fighter 2 characters and the similarities between Fatal? This wasn't Fatal Fury. What was it? Shoot, what was the one that they did? Data East fighting game? Was it Data East? Ellen, what was it? No. Fighter's History. That's the one. Fighter's History. So, I mean, it's pretty funny to watch because they're like, well, our guy has an armband here and that one doesn't. And the stage takes place here and his stage takes place here. But the character, if you look at the character, you're like, oh, that's, that's Guile. All right, let's try submit score again. We're getting there. Sorry, guys. Game over. I could speed this part up just so we get it over. So now we're not hitting. So submit score doesn't do none, right? Can we set a breakpoint here? Okay, so we're hitting the break. All right, so now we need to submit score. I believe we have the code for that already. Or not. Did I delete it forever? Because I'm an idiot. I must have. I did. Ugh. It's in some commit like long ago. So now I've got to go grab it from our friends over at Tallow. And it was Tallow. So we're going to go to Tallow. Game services, installation docs. Yeah, the Guile's theme goes with everything. Yeah, it's pretty wild. Man, that I gotta say, there's a H Bomber guy has a has a video about, this is a long segue. I'll get to it. It's a 3-hour-long video about the origin of the ooh sound from Roblox. And so it starts out at that. And it goes, no, it's only 2 hours. If you guys haven't seen this, and you bastard. No. So it starts out about the Roblox oof thing. And then it becomes this whole video, becomes this whole thing about Tommy Tellerico, which I don't know. You got to be a certain age to have that name mean anything to you. And you have had to watch North American television for it to really matter, right? Those two things combined. Tommy Tellerico. Does that sound familiar to anybody? Anyways, about how he's basically full of shit. I'm trying not to throw shade at the guy. But it's kind of true. He's a compulsive liar. And he just does it in the worst possible way. Anyways, it's a fascinating video. And Vang, good evening. How are you doing? I got chats happening on the channel that shall not, or on the stream that shall not be named. I cannot say. I'm not allowed to. I'm withheld from it. The TOS doesn't let me say it. Anyways, it's a good video, and it ends with a little bit about some of the music that was created during the 90s, specifically Street Fighter, and a lot of music that was on from Nintendo. It's really interesting. It's a good little bit, but that's a good video. It's kind of wild. You never want this guy to make a video about you because you know you're screwed at that point. Good, I just woke up. Need to do some dishes before I start working on my own project. Bust some ass, of course. Am I allowed to show chat from another place that shall not be named if I just don't say that it's from that? I know there's some weird TOS with Twitch about if I'm streaming on Twitch and maybe some other place that I'm not allowed to even mention. Because I can't direct you guys there. That's specifically what they don't allow. So if I'm talking to people there and I'm saying that I'm talking to people there, is that going to get me in trouble? I don't know. I don't know. Populate high score. Here we go. So this is to get our high score. So then we need to submit our high score. So we're going to go over here. We're going to look at leaderboards. It rhymes with it rhymes with Rube Cube. Rube Cube. Anyways. CS, how's it going? All right, so score, add entry, leaderboard. So this is where we add our score. It's real simple. Just 2 lines, but really all we need to do is this, add entry. Add entry. An affiliate. I'm whatever the first thing is. I don't know if it's partnered or affiliated. I'm not sure which one it is. If I had known that that was going to permanently put me into rolling ads or having to decide how I rolled ads, I might not have done it. Mud's cool and doesn't do them. Living the dream, loading up Unity for the first time in like 3 months. Let's see if I do anything or just stare blankly at it. You got it. Lock in. Lock in. Record yourself. What you could do, just to keep yourself going, CS, is record yourself working. Record your screen and pretend like you're going to post that somewhere to keep yourself honest. Like, imagine that your boss is, like, the screen recording is your boss. Mud's cool and doesn't do anything. He has AI do everything for him. Streaming helps so much for accountability. It's a little distracting sometimes, but I know that I would just be doom scrolling Reddit or watching YouTube videos and just getting hella distracted. And so, for me, it does certainly help prevent that from happening as much. All right, so leaderboards, and then we need the player name. Score, player name, and then our score. It's that simple. All right, so there, bam. So now we can just submit the score. And I guess for funsies, we could print the result, or we could do, can we catch it? If the results, I don't know what we get back from Tallow leaderboards. Let's see. If we check add entry is going to tell us what we're going to get back. So if I go over here and just kind of add entry result. Okay. So this is add entry results. And this is it going to be Tallow? Add leaderboards API. So what is the leaderboards? Leaderboards API. So Tallow dot leaderboards. We're not. Leaderboards API dot add entry result. Okay, so that's the type. So now if we're add entry result, what do we get from this? Entry updated. The page that it's on. That's it. So not much, really. So I don't think we need to do anything with it. So submit score, there we go. That should do it. Let's go ahead and try it and see if it works. Now this is good because we're going to be able to catch. If our existing score is in there, we have to remove it, right? We got to trim that out and then insert ourselves into our new position. So what we need is a couple of fake scores to kind of pad this thing out. Slater, what's up? I see you. I think I've seen affiliates get away with not abiding by it, but then other users have said, yeah, I feel like it's just who's rage watching you, like who hate watches you, Vang. Or Ving. So is it Vinga? Is that how you say it? But anyways, yeah, I think it's just like if you have a hate watcher and they just watch you because they hate your guts, they'll try and get you with it. Which I might have one or two of those. I might have one or two of those. I don't know. Yeah. But yeah, I do use streaming. I do use streaming as like clocking into work kind of thing. Although I will say if I'm getting paid real money for something, and maybe that'll change how I approach this stuff at all, once I get something out there and I start making some form of revenue, is if I'm getting paid to do something, that's what I'm doing. Raise your hand if you hate Russia. My problem is people come in and get real mad at me. And I don't like, and they'll be awful to me, but I don't ban them. My big rule of thumb is if anybody in chat comes after someone else in chat, that's it. Right? Or quantities or qualities of a person that cannot change, right? Basically, if someone's going to come in and be a bigot, then you're out. So, yeah. Okay, but that's all of us. Damn it! I was talking to another streamer the other day about how the worst thing, because I've only had this happen, like, there's been moments. But the worst thing is as you get bigger with a streamer, sometimes somebody that you've always known can sort of mask off. And you're like, no, you're like, no, I didn't want to know. It's like when you join Facebook and you find out your uncle's this like, like a racist asshole or something. And you're just like, oh my God. Like I guess it's good to know, but like, damn. Sorrow message has been deleted. Opening Blender, need a new model made. Do something. You gotta hold yourself accountable. Do it. You got it. You need like an electric shock thing. Okay, let's try submitting a score and see if this works. I guess what we could do is we'll just print the result. Let's just do that. Print debug, and we'll just throw this into the printout. And let's go ahead and submit a high score. I don't believe we have... No, we do have game over right at the beginning. Let's get rid of that. Let's just actually play the game. And we'll submit a score. So we'll get over the immediate game over. And just play this, like, weird thing that we've built. It really is pointless. Like, this is not how the game is going to look, hopefully, when you actually slap it together. Which apparently is going to be tomorrow. There's a glitch right there. I know why that's happening. Hear me out. Gamer chairs, but built-in cattle prods. Chat API. Do it. We could do that. Who's that streamer that does the really cool stuff where they did the thing where they made their chat like AIM? It was like AOL Instant Messenger. And then they recently did like the Xbox, the old school 360 interface. The streamer called Cricket. Is it Doug? Is that the... Yeah. That guy's really... that's like... I've dreamed of doing stuff like that. And, ooh, analog. Look at this. When we do analog, this is what happens. Oh, we don't like that. So D-pad is the way to go here. Ah, crap. I found a bug. We got to submit a high score before we get to the end of the game. Come on, Cricket. Put in your name. T. Then we got to get to save. Get to save. Get to save. Save it. Oh, I didn't do anything. Or did it? It might have done it twice. Okay. Let's go check. We're going to end this. Did we get a printout? Did we get a printout? Null. Both of them are null. That's not a good sign. Okay. I'll be right back, guys. I gotta go drop. I gotta go tinkle. Every Tim subs. There we go. That's how you do it. All right, I'm back. Let's see if we got the high score submitted. We'll go ahead and check. Now we know that it was caching. Last time we tried this, it was caching. We're going to go to the dashboard and we're going to go look at we're going to look at how do I get to the leaderboard for this? So that's not it. Dashboard. Cyberspace. Tubins, Cyberspace. Game settings. Dev data. Has no effect on your game. Your mom has no effect on your game. Here we go. View entries. Today. So it's cached. Let's run the game, see if we see a high score. Oh, you know what? We need to get... Oh, God, this is such a pain in the ass. What have I done? Why am I doing this? I should have not done this high score thing. What am I doing? God, such an idiot. Don't ever do this on a jam. What are you thinking? I don't see it. So did we not correctly submit? Maybe not. Maybe not. Boop, 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 boop. Submit. Add entry results. Add entry. This function returns an add entry result that includes the updated entry, whether their high score should be updated. Entry props. Along with the score, you can send a props entry. You can filter on specific values. Oh, I am a moron. I am an idiot. I promise I will never die. Identify username. Okay. I promise. So our leaderboard name is going to be... Look at this guy. Nathir. This is your final warning, Nathir. I know it's you. I know it's you. The name of the leaderboard is level 1. Score. Damn it, Nathir. You son of a... Oh my god, it's everyone's contributing. Now, the way I wanted the golf clap to work was that it would go and be additive, but it cues it up, and I don't know how to fix that. So, who knows how long we're in for this? Dear God. It's gonna keep going. It will never stop. Entry player alias display name. Display name. Okay, but how do we do... Await, identify, username. Fartality. Fartality. Score and team. So if we do username, when we do identify a username. Fartality. Identify. Await, username. And then we're going to say score player name. All right, I think we got it. Fartality. Fartality. Fartamanjaro. Fartamanjaro. Hello players identify usernames. Can I convert argument 2 from leaderboard score? I got it. Never ends. Did we break it? I think we just got a big old queue wound up. Oh no! Make it stop! Attempt to refresh. Can I convert argument 2 from nil to dictionary? Dictionary? So apparently username text is a dictionary? What is even that? What is even that? Identify. Score. And just to confirm, I just gotta focus, guys. Set score. Entry, player alias, display name. So is there like a whole thing for just the player name? How did I get Bob in so easily?
Fartality.
In entry, player authentication. On ready, text edit. Register, username, password. We're not doing any of that. Installations. Identifying a player. Player. Players with your account can have multiple aliases. For example, player could have a Steam and Epic, blah, 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 blah. You can identify a player using Tallow Players Identifier. The code below shows you how you can identify a player using a UI element. Service is a parameter that is reserved for the Tallow Player authentication. If you are using Tallow Player authentication, Tallow Players Identify will be invoked automatically, and the player's identified signal will also be emitted as normal. Oh my god, it's still going! Make it stop. I gotta switch over to my computer glasses. Here we go.
Fartality.
It's quiet. It's quiet. No! What? What happened? Why was it quiet? I'm so confused. Why was it quiet? No. No, why is it still going? None of you guys are reading me. Can we figure out where we are in the chain?
Fartality.
Okay, we just got a fartality. Golf clap. I think it's over. It ended with a fartality. I think we got it. We're done. Nope, there's the oofs. Okay, so we got multiple oofs coming in. Many oofs. How did I do this? Let me go check my previous commits. What's an easy way to check commit history here, boys? I don't know. Git. Git. Browse. Git Explorer. How much time is wasted? Can I look at old versions? Current file. Git browse. There we go. That's useful. That's really handy, actually. Now if we go through our history, why is it not showing our history? Here we go. TIFF 3 file. Okay, so let's go back. No, 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 no. Stop. Go back. This is the commit. Go back again. History. Juiced up 2 days ago. Okay, let's see what we got. We're looking for Bob. Come on, Bob. This text to Bob. But it's not. This is the scene. But no Bob. Set up leaderboard. Come on, Bob. Bob would be down here. And I see no Bob. Probably light high score. Pack scene. Uh-huh. 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 There's no Bob. Juiced. Uh-huh. Any Bob? There's no Bob. Damn it. Why am I stuck on such... I did this in like 5 seconds when I got this going. Let's look at this again. Service is a string. Service is a parameter as... You cannot use Tallow for the service parameter, as this is reserved for Tallow player authentication. Okay. Here's Bob. Oh, they have Bob in their examples. Just one Bob. Events. Is there Bob here? No. Leaderboards. Is there a Bob in leaderboards? No. Events. Let's do it again. No. Player presence. No. Man, some of this stuff is like for free. This is wild. Ah. This is bullshit. This is how I did it right here. It was this. It's bullshit. This is bullshit. Submit score. Identify username. This is it. Score player name. But I didn't do text. I just put... So score player name, just to confirm. Score player name is a string. Yes, sir. Okay. Oh. Sorry about that. All right, let's try again. Attempt to refresh. Cannot convert argument 2. Let's reload. Game over. All right, Slater, see it. We're just going to do A. Connected. And so, attempt to refresh. Cannot convert argument 2 from nil. Okay, I think I know what's going on. I think I know. And it is add entry, internal name, score, await. So we're awaiting twice. Make request. What do we have here? Connected. Identify. Username. A. With the save. We don't want that. 400. Null. I bet you that's part of the problem. Let's just try Taco as the username. I bet you it's the Unicode character is a no joy. We got it. I'm almost certain of it now. Yeah. Okay, so Taco submitted that high score. Fine. So what we want to do is when we do this, we actually want to strip this guy out of our character name. So score player name left returns the first. Can we do trim? Removes the given prefix from the start of the string. Suffix from the end of the string. And the suffix is going to be this little bad boy here. So we're going to yank that in front of everybody on the stream. We're going to yank it. Then we're going to paste it here. Okay. So as you mentioned a day ago, maybe too much work on high score and not enough on gameplay. Yes. Yes. Agreed. And really, what's really screwing this up is that I'm just not having it, you type it in. That's my biggest screw up on this whole thing. Is just that. And we have to return the suffix removal. We're trimming the suffix score player name. No, but this is absolutely overscoping for a jam. But it's also like there's a vibe I'm kind of going for. I did the in-game thing and I got super into that. But really, I should have been focused completely on the stages and the enemies and all of that stuff. And I'm just not doing that. And so the game could be crap. And it probably is going to play like crap. But I'm really excited about working on this project post-jam. And for instance, like the high score stuff and everything, I mean, it kind of would make the game sticky if I did something like that, but it's not the game I'm wanting to make in the first place. So, you know, 5 stars for UI. All right, so now we're going to try doing Cricket as the username. We're not going to have a score for Cricket. There's Taco. So Taco's showing up. And Taco is lowercase. So we know we're getting stuff. And we're gonna want to sort the high score by date. And it would be date what? If it's the same score, the oldest one is the record. Okay, so that's working now. So now we can submit the score. And if that suffix exists, we trim it off. Easy peasy. Another thing we could do is say, there's probably a ASCII characters only thing on string, right? So we could say, is valid ASCII identifier? No, that's like some numerical. False. I don't know. I don't know what makes it false and what makes it true. Returns true if this is a valid ASCII identifier. An ASCII identifier may only contain letters, digits, and underscores. Okay, so even if it wasn't a valid ASCII, what is that? What can I do it with that? You know, like can I? I'm seeing a lot of ASCII, but I'm not seeing to ASCII buffer. Converts the string to an ASCII packed byte array. This method is slightly faster than to UTF-8. So what I could do is run it through this and then reconstruct it. And I guess theoretically this would trim anything that wasn't an ASCII, although it may do some weird conversion thing to it, and I don't know. All right, well, we got a lot of edge cases with this. The score system might be a bummer. Now we're going to do submit. So we have if event is action pressed, submit. And if it's a submit, we're going to say submit score. And I guess we'll do the exact same thing here. We're just going to go like this. And now here's the ultimate question. How can I get traditional character inputs from a keyboard as an event and just use that to add to the... I don't think we're going to do it. We're going to say that the game requires a controller, and I'm not going to spend time on that. So now let's see what happens when we submit cricket twice. Interestingly, not... I'm going to use enter. And I suppose in the same vein, I'll have the start button be the same. So now I've got cricket, enter, and it submits. And then interestingly, it does this whole thing here, right? Where, why did it do that? Why did it do a new line for us? We trimmed a suffix. There was none to trim. Why did we get this extra T? Because it acted like an accept. So we need to remove enter from accept. And so that'll fix that. So now, did we submit cricket with 2 T's? Let's search cricket. We did. Oh, well. Whoopsie doozies. Whoopsie doozies. Let's refresh. So this is all cached. High score entries. Props team red. Oh, that's how we know it was. And there's the score. And is there an easy way for we can just hide? But now we need to be able to flush this out. Is there a way we can just flush this out? Leaderboards. View entries. Refresh entries never. This is to create a leaderboard. But can I clean this leaderboard up? Am I screwing myself right now? Do I need to be flagging these as dev? Am I an idiot? Don't answer any of those questions. Leaderboard dev. Getting entries. Installation. I saw some mention of dev mode. There is an API reference. Leaderboard API. Search for dev. Separating development data. It's very common to test your development builds against Talos services you've already configured, like stats and leaderboards. Usually you want to separate out development data from live data. If the xtalo dev build header is set to 1, any data being sent will be marked as development data and can be separated out in the dashboard. To also include development data when fetching entries, like leaderboard entries, you should set the include dev data header to 1. So I'm setting that header? Where am I doing that from? Is there a... I mean, I'm not doing the post. You're doing the post. Getting all that stuff. Like if I go look at the... populate high score. Options. Leaderboards. So can I do something like options? Is there like a header? Add. I see nothing about header. Prop value, prop key, start and end date. Entry result. I don't see nothing. I didn't see nothing. So I might have to flush out. I don't see how to set the header. Let's search header. Headers. If an existing entry exists for the player, required. Okay. So this isn't the Godot API. So if we search headers, let's search Godot. So yeah, the Godot settings reference. There's a debug in an offline mode. Oh, it is development data. When the OS has feature debug flag is set to true, any data sent from Godot plugin is marked as development data. So is the development data the blue stuff? Must be. Dev players are created in development builds. Their data will be permanently marked as development data, regardless of the current. And the dashboard, this is denoted by orange backgrounds. When OS has featured debug, running on a debug build, including the editor. Sorry guys, we're just kind of view entries. Oh, it is orange. Well, there we go. So because we're submitting data, this is really nice execution on all this. Since we're a debug build of Godot, everything we're submitting is going into a developer data set. That's really nice. That's like, you don't even have to think about it. It's doing it for you. That's so cool. I think actually when I did the inner-tube jam game, I panicked and I deleted everything because I thought all those high score things would be in there. So that's really cool that that's just how it works. Okay. Now, let's confirm one more time that if I did press, oh, that was the other thing. Hang on. We're going to have the start button be submit. So press start on the key. There we go. Okay, so joypad start, or whatever you want to call it now. It's terrible that they got rid of start. Getting rid of physical games and getting rid of start. What's wrong with people? So this is interesting because if we put in a username here, and we already have Cricket, right? I guess we're just going to keep it that way. How would that work in an actual arcade unit? Because it wouldn't be unique, right? It would be every time there's a score, cricket, it would start shoving things out. But that's not how I want to do it. So then we hit start and it submits. Okay, so we need some final state on this thing to like joy. So joy button 6. Okay. So when we actually submit, we need to set state to menu. So after submission, submit score, we say set state, state menu. And then in our state machine, if you want to call it that, state menu is going to bring up our main menu, the welcome screen. I guess we don't have a pause menu or anything like that. Is that bad? I don't know. Guys, I don't know, guys. What I need is, going forward, if I'm going to be doing jam games, I need to spend like a day getting kind of a default setup of a game with like a pause menu and some stuff like that into it. And some of my go-to things, and just have a Godot project ready to go for a jam, so that I know that I don't have to think about those kinds of things, because it's too much. Okay. Try that a couple of times with high score menus, etc. Yeah. It just feels like every time I start a game, it's just like always a little bit different enough where it's like, I don't know if this is actually helping or hindering. You know what I mean? Okay, so speaking of, we do need to have a thing about a main menu or welcome screen. Welcome screen. Attract screen is what it would be called back in the day. Use controller to input high score. I would say yes, kindly. We have the save button, and we do need the delete button to do something. We don't have that working yet. So right now you could accidentally create a delete thing. Delete character on high score needs to delete. We also need to make sure that we don't include that character in the submission. Template Unity projects pre-setup never completely turns out right. Well, yeah, and the problem with the idea of doing that in Godot is Godot updates so often that you would have to constantly go back to it and kind of upkeep it to make sure that it's ready for the next version of Godot. Generally, the most like numbered releases right now for 4 aren't breaking anything where you have to like, so it's not that bad, but it can be sometimes. Depends on what they did. I think it was like Godot 4.3 or 4.2 that was really changed enough things where it was like they created an entire porting system now, I think, between versions. Something to that effect. Okay. We definitely need iframes. This is all tomorrow. Tomorrow is make game. High score list. I suppose we have that, although we need it on the main menu. Welcome screen. Welcome screen. High score. We kind of need music too. Did you have any of that synth wave stuff, Rodrigo? Rodrigo. Well, I made a thing in Blender, or started a thing in Blender. I have an idea for something. For an old game design. Nice. Yeah, I mentioned earlier today I watched a History Channel video on the on Pizza Hut and Domino's, and how like American pizza or pizza in the United States really came in like one of the middle states. And it's associated with like East Coast New York, but it really didn't take off until Pizza Hut. And then the franchising and chain of it made it like a common thing in American cuisine, even though it's not real pizza, air quotes. This is the thing that really bothers me when people are like, this is like kind of a retort that some people say, like, what foods did America invent? And I would say to anyone, all cuisine is created regionally. Like, that's just how it works. Availability of ingredients, location to seafood, whatever it happens to be, affects the output of the cuisine. Culture, right? Religious beliefs can all affect what food is. And so to say that like I remember, I think it was Devro was like doing that to me. And I said, Mexican food. And he like laughed at me. And I was like, no, I'm serious. Like, if you went to Mexico and ordered something that you would order in the States, it would not be the same thing. So to me, like Tex-Mex or whatever you want to call it is like a distinctly American flavor. And we are a land of immigrants and all that kind of stuff. So, and it's different from states. Yeah, absolutely. California, I moved to Idaho. There is no California Mexican food here. Yeah, exactly. There's no California Mexican. There's no like burrito that I remember from California here. Unfortunately, there is a good Mexican restaurant though, for sure. It's actually funny. I'm like 50-50. The population here is 50% Hispanic and where I'm at. So, as far as like, but anyways, yeah. And so I would say the same. And it's funny because then you look at England and it's like, what's the national dish? And it's like an Indian dish. And then in Germany, there's like, I forget where, but there's like a food that's really popping off right now there. And then the same argument was like, well, because that was from somebody who lived here. And it's like, that's what I'm saying. That's my whole point. And I there are foods that are, Cajun is a distinctly American thing. And like, there's a bunch of things that are like, this was created in the States. I think even like French fries, technically, if I'm not mistaken, that whole thing is actually a States thing. I could be wrong. Cheeseburgers. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's certain foods that like may have existed elsewhere, but really exploded in scope and scale and became formalized in like other countries. It's kind of just what happens. Are we not all human beings? Like, why do we have to do this thing where we split and break people up? And like, you know what I mean? Like, that's what drives me nuts about that kind of stuff is like, why are we constantly trying to find differences to fight over? Like, that's the part where it's like, I don't like playing that game. Anyways. But yeah, I think there's a lot of different, and that's the thing, like, because I've been to Brazil and I had pizza there, and Brazilian pizza is definitely different. I mean, the toppings were, you know, there's like no sauce from what I remember. Or maybe it was like a white sauce. I can't even recall, but it was like a lot of corn. There was a lot of corn. I don't even know that there was cheese on the thing. There might have been cheese, but it wasn't like mozzarella. And it was just like mostly vegetable topping. And I don't even know that they were like, it might have been par-baked dough and then the toppings were added at afterwards. So it's just like an entirely different species of pizza. Gotta go teach some kids some karate real quick. Put them to bed. If I'm not back in time, see you later. CS, thanks so much. Thank you for the good luck wishes. Anyways, rant over. Another epic cricket rant. Okay, so the leaderboard is a little glitchy. We're going to accept it as it is. We need to complete the game loop, though. So what we need to have now, we really do need a menu. Shit. All right, let's just get this stuff out of the way. So tomorrow and Sunday, this is all I'm spending my time on is making the game good. There's two Bob. I don't know that I don't know. We're going to have to get into super creative mode come tomorrow. Like I'm going to have to just be inspired like crazy. Okay, so what we're going to do for UI here is create. We've got our margin container here. We have HUD here. We're going to go ahead and throw something else in here. And this is going to be our main menu. And I'm just going to bust something out here, real simple. And I suppose we're going to separate by what? Probably a VBox container. And we're just going to make this thing as big as we can. It's already set up that way. And then we're going to go ahead and throw in the title, which is just going to be a label. And Cyber Shmup. I really want to, am I going to get in trouble on itch if I call this Hackers the unofficial game? Have I seen what's on Twitch? Fair point. Fair point. You got me there. Fair point. Why can't I expand you? Margin containers expand. Why aren't you? Oh, do I need to have like individual things that are shoving stuff around? Probably. Apparently. Playing the Powerball. I'm just a kid. Grandpa's playing the Powerball. Grandpa's playing the Powerball. Childhood memories. We got any good childhood memories? What do I got? I got a lot of them. We all do, right? Sometimes the childhood can be hard to remember, though. That's never a good feeling. Like, I think I can start to remember my childhood at around age 6, maybe 5. Okay, and then we're gonna have a button, a bouton, and then this one's gonna be packed in. So this one we're just gonna go like that. Start game. Call it Hacksaws. Maybe not with itch, but with some movie producers. Cyber hacksaws. Gotta go teach the kids some karate real quick. Go to sleep. Ooh-ah, ooh-ah. Get to bed. Go to sleep. Sleeptality. I'm actually really psyched for that Street Fighter movie. It looks so cheesy. I am 100% in. Sleeptality. It's just like scapegoating is a manipulation tactic for corporations that are getting rich by buying up all of the businesses and housing units. What are we talking about, Ving? What? Is that what they call it? Scapegoating? I always, where you take one thing and you blame it for some problem set, right? Hackers, the unofficial. So we need a sweet ass shader for the title. Shader. Godot. I mean, we have this trick now with the fire thing that we created. By the way, that fire shader, I gotta say, I'm really proud of that. Stylized tuned water. Glitch double vision. Copy. Let's try it out. We're going to throw that on Le Bleu. You're talking about people always so divided. A lot of scapegoating. Oh, yeah. I follow what you're saying. I get you. Divide and conquer, right? Generally, if you get the populace fighting with each other, then they can't focus on the bigger issues. Title. Oh no, it disappeared. Where did it go? Is this not going to work on... I wonder if this won't work on... Because it's not a mesh. What about the title Hackers? Give me your SSN. And the name for high scores is a... Dude, I remember reading 2600 back in the day. And one of the issues was breaking down what your social security number meant. And how it's like most of the information in your number is tracks. Like you can figure out where someone was born. Like a bunch of stuff about the person just from their SSN. And I didn't believe it, and then I used the key that they had, and I was like, oh my God. Yeah, I thought it was just like a number that went up. Right? And surely some element of it has to increment. I don't know how it works. But it's like something about it. I'm looking around at shaders right now, bros. We got some shaders. We're looking. I guess I could show this on the screen, right? Why not? This is what I was trying to do, was this one right here, this glitch double vision thing. But alas. Now, I might be able to do that if I use the 3D label. text 3D or whatever it's called, because that would be a mesh. Manga hit. Ooh, we might want to use this. If this has exposed variables. Yeah, because we're going to need this for speed. Ooh, this is cool. Well, what happens if I take this and throw it on here? Nothing. It doesn't like it. Toon shader. Portal. Rounded rectangle, animated distorted. Sign scroll. Medieval water. Shader type. Canvas item. Starry Night. I feel like I need to start singing Christmas music. Silent. All right, let's see. Screw it, we don't got time. There's no time. Let's steal our existing shader. Quick load. Game over shader. Oh, it didn't take any of it. Okay, hang on. We're going to copy it from game over. We got the high score right here. Game over label. This is the one. Game over label. Game over la bleu. Visibility. Material. There it is. We're going to copy this. Hopefully the params come over when we paste. We'll go back over to our title here. And then we're going to paste. Make unique. Unique, unique. Paste as unique. It did not take anything. Bro. Let's try again. Paste as unique. Shader. So it just, the params didn't come across. So now I got to do each of these individually. Let's go over real quick. Quick. We're in a jam. We're going to copy the color curve. Copy. That's the color curve. And then there's noise. Okay. Let's go back over to label. Here. Paste. There we go. And let's get game over noise. Copy. We need to make sure to make these unique as well. Paste as unique. Make unique. And then what were we doing? We were doing a ton of stuff to make this work for us. We had a running tween and all kinds of stuff. We're actually going through the Z-axis. That's how we make the flames look right. So we push forward on Z, and then we're slowly scrolling down so that it looks like the fire is going up. The fire rises. Hello, Mr. UPS man. Hello, Mr. UPS man. Okay, so timed is off. And then we're going to be scrolling through progress dynamically. But no, we don't. That's right. The trickery is all in the noise. So what we're doing is in the color ramp. No. Is it the color curve? No. Where are we doing the scrolling at? It's in the noise. It's in the sub value, right? This one. Okay, let's make this unique. I can't. Uh-oh. Well, I don't think it's a reference, right? It's just generated. So like if I change this, I'm not going to break anything else. Anyways, so yeah, we scroll the Z like this. And then we scroll the Y. And that's how we get the flame. See, if we scroll the Y up, it moves upwards. Like that. And that's how you get the rising flame. And then to get it to change, you go through the Z. So you're going through Z space and you're moving up on the Y. And then it looks like fire. Now, let's try and get some cool colors going on here though. Now the other trick that I did was we duplicate. We need a container that's a control. We need both these guys to be, people are setting off fireworks in our yard or outside, our neighbors. And now why are we on top of each other? Center. And then we're going to center. There we go. So we want to be on top of each other because what we're going to do is on one of these, we're going to get rid of the material. And it needs to be the one that's behind it. And then we're going to, we want to set the color ramp. Come on, hurry up, Cricket. Is it color ramp? No. Gradient? No. So how are we doing that? Because we had one, oh, it was modulate, wasn't it? What was it? It was something weird. Theme overrides. Font color. Oh, we only did the one. Label. Theme overrides. Colors. So the movie Hackers title. Oh, that's right. Oh, we got to do that. I need I need a print shader. Godot shaders. This is what the Hackers title looked like. I forgot. That's it right there. So it's I think it's supposed to be like a CRT thing. Godot shaders. We have our CRT shader. Shoot, why didn't I think of that? Okay, we already got that. Let's grab that one. Where is that? That's on HUD. Yeah, this. You know what's cool about this? We just throw this inside of the same. Okay. So we just go. Where's our title? HUD. VBox container. Label. CRT. Put that inside of label? No, we need to put label inside of it. How does this work? See, we don't want the whole control to do it. We might have to. It's going to do it to the whole thing. We might have to be a little sneaksies here. We're going to add a viewport, sub viewport. Oof, this is a little effy, as we might say in the biz. Transparent. But we would want to somehow. I mean, I guess this is enough just throwing it in here like this, but the problem is it does it to the whole thing. We definitely don't want that. We're going to match our viewport size here. 648. And then we're going to put in, we're going to change this type to texture, texture rect. And then that's going to be viewport texture, which is going to be, nope, wrong one. There we go. And we need to get this centered. Okay. And all of this stuff. Why are we on top of each other? We're in a margin container. Is it because we're individual containers as well, and therefore, I mean, if I throw this out, duplicate the margin container. I just want the settings on the margin container. We're going to delete that and put ourselves inside of it. There we go. Okay. So then, oh, we weren't pushing it down, were we? Yeah, we were. Okay. So if we do it this way, and this button is just off in its own little land, its own little button land, and we want it in front. Okay, it's starting to look like something. Let's clean up the shade, the CRT thing. So let's go back to default res, and we're gonna roll these back to our defaults. Okay. Let's get rid of HUD while we're doing this. Noise amounts. Why are we transparent background? Why is our noise so dark? Please tell me that this is unique. Gotta be, right? And I'm doing the right thing, right? No, I'm not. I just reset the wrong one. Okay. That's HUD. This is the one we want. I was like, why isn't it doing anything? There we go. Noise amount. Okay. Let's reset all this to be a little reasonable. Is that how you spell official? Dear God, Cricket, get it right, man. Super official. We gotta get this right. You ever do right words? This happens to everybody, and it just doesn't look right. So we need purples along the sides. The CRT is in a sub viewport. Label. And then we have our button. And button needs to go to center bottom. We'll fix that up. Come on, Cricket. Do this quick. do this quick. Can we just put a solid ass color of canvas modulate and what does it look like? Canvas modulate. If I put color in front, no. Canvas. That's 2D. There's canvas layer. Color rect. There we go. Get rid of that. Color rect. There we go. So if I make a big ass color rect and then I make it transparent, sub viewport, transparent background. So is that actually transparent? If I put color rect here and I see it's inside that, we don't want that. Color rect. Reset it. Okay. I think can we mask? Can I do masking with a shader? We're froze. We're going to keep the color rect. Material, visibility, modulate. Self-modulate. Light mask visibility layer. CRT. Roll speed, scan line. Noise amount. And again, if we remove transparent background, label, layout. This is too much time. Fanny Slam, how you doing? All right, I got to go say goodnight to my kids really quick. I'll be right back. I'm spending way too much time on this. Way too much time. We got to do blue. Blue outline. All right. I'll be right back, guys. All right, we're back. Mavens, good night. Thanks for hanging out. I gotta visit you on your stream sometime if our schedules can line up. Thanks again for the raid. I really appreciate it. Have a good night. All right, so if we change this here, that's that's actually pretty close to the title. What's too much time when you're having fun? Yeah. So we're just bleeding. So if we change our core color here, I think doing something like this would be kind of cool. Something light. And then, but this is what we're scrolling on, right? So we want to do that. And then our font color is going to be white. And then let's go back to the CRT. Wait, no, can we do spacing? Line spacing. So what's that pushing? That's pushing us up. Fonts. Can we do anything specifically on the font stuff? No. It's Hackers, the unofficial game, yeah. I'm gonna, dude, I don't know. I don't know that I can do this in time, Bear. Sunday. A little bit of Sunday, yeah. I don't know. I was thinking it's pretty late, huh? Font sizes. Let's go 128. See how good it says. Too big. But if the subheading was smaller, like if this was split up as a subheading, like that. And then we push this to be center. I don't know why this isn't fitting in the sub viewport. It is. We need center. And then this needs to be font size 64. Okay, there we go. Now, CRT. So if we can scroll on that, we could up the resolution. So 640 times 2. What does this look like at run? Game over. So this is the original title. I don't have the right resources to make a shader to do this right. I don't got time. And then we're going to do outline size. That's better. Colors, outline color. So we're going with the blue. No, let's make it purple. Hell yeah. It's like the best purple we can get. And then we want the same purple on the bottom. Colors, outline. And it's not really reading. Oh, I didn't take it. There we go. There we go. CRT interference. And I guess if we can reduce the outline size a little bit. Sweet. Then it doesn't read as well. Too bad we can't do an inline. There's a shadow outline. I guess if we make this darker, then it's not going to read. All right. Layout. Container sizing, stretch ratio. So now we can push the star button down. And then this is what it's going to look like when it starts up, at least for now. And then when the game starts, we throw this stuff away. So this is the menu or title. I'm going to just call it menu. And this is the HUD margin container. Okay, so there's our title for the game. It looks like something. And then maybe we'll improve the button to be like more of a button. And I guess we could do a controller layout, but I don't think we have time for any of that. I'm not even going to have that's something you could help me with. The game page. Like on itch. Like it's got to have like screenshots and all kinds of stuff. Like text. And I just don't got time to do it all. I don't have time. All right. Okay, guys. Not bad for tonight. Much love to everybody out there. Call a loved one. Send a postcard. Try and keep in touch. Connect with an old friend. Who knows what? Who do we got? Who do we got? Who do we got? Who do we got? How many do we got? 15 of you hanging out in the middle of the night. What's wrong with us? You know what? I guess if we do a
Remember,
search,
if you shake it more than twice,
we could find
you're playing
somebody
with
new.
it.
Oops. Because it's so late. I don't have a good Godot group with this lateness. So we got to grow. We've got to grow. Got somebody learning Godot. Claymore dev. Fish, it says. Card handling, clickaboo. Developing KN Tower. Ooh. Now, hold on now. This looks dope. We got our raid. One viewer.
Minions and Monsters
Going
is
in.
fresh with a 91% on
They're
Rotten
making a
Tomatoes.
tower game like
It's the best in the
you know
franchise.
those skyscraper games? Looks like
Painted
that.
such a
Yes.
wonderful picture with your
This is
beautiful
cool.
gibberish.
Oh, we've rated this. All right,
Minions
much
and
love to
Monsters,
everybody out
rated
there.
PG,
Be
in
safe.
theaters now.
I will see you guys later.